Bullshit.
It's the No Bullshit Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich, CEO and founder of Massolutions. Think back to when you were young and someone made an impact on you that's lasted through today. A teacher, coach, college professor, or some other leader that taught you something or instilled a belief in you or gave you confidence way back then. See them and hear them right now in your mind's eye. What are they saying? The odds are that that teacher, coach, college professor, or some other leader leveraged the power of story to make a lasting impact on you that's now impacted others. It was probably a memorable phrase, an anecdote or analogy, or a mantra that that leader used that resonated with you. It made sense. It stuck. And you continue to think of that from time to time. You've told that example to others in your life. You passed it on to the next generation. That's because storytelling is the one tool that works across generations, cultures, geographic location, gender. It's the one tool that can help to educate, motivate, and communicate with others, regardless of time, place, and background. I've yet to meet, with all the talks I've done across the country, the work that I've done with so many talented people, clients, and organizations that I've been a part of, I've yet to meet someone that wasn't a pretty good storyteller in their personal lives. The holidays, family events, telling stories, anecdotes, and analogies. Yet in business, I see so many leaders who squander opportunities to educate, communicate, and motivate through stories. I've seen leaders again and again miss opportunities when they could leverage the power of story. What I want to do with today's No Bullshit Marketing Show is give you a tool and the background of how to use it so that you can quickly and easily build your go-to stories that you can use again and again in mediums ranging from one-on-one breakfast, lunch, or dinner meetings, all the way to text messages, emails, staff meetings, morning stand-ups, all hands, all town hall meetings. All of these particular opportunities that we often miss. That's what I want to talk to you about. And what it is, it's your No BS StoryBuilder. And your No BS StoryBuilder helps you take the behavioral science of storytelling and apply it to your art, your natural instincts, your natural talents that you have to tell stories. So you're going to combine behavioral science of how our minds work. So you can take your natural instinctual storytelling abilities, apply the science to it with your No BS StoryBuilder, and have stories that are quick and memorable, easy to put together, and easy to use again and again. What the behavioral science shows us is that we begin to form stories about people as they're talking to us. We make them the center of the story, and we look at what their goal was, who they were trying to work through and with to achieve this goal, what obstacles did they have, what struggles did they have to overcome, who helped them, and how, what lessons did they learn, and what was the ultimate goal that they achieved. That's all what the science, the cognitive psychologists have proven we do naturally when we're engaging with others. So what we've done is turn that into Your No BS StoryBuilder to give you that power so you can leverage the power of story to educate, communicate, and motivate your team, your peers, your family, your friends, your community. The first step is setting the goal for that particular story. What do you want to achieve with it? You've heard me say, if you're a regular No BSer, I've talked about the issue, not the instance. That's one of my anecdotes and analogies that I use again and again, that we sometimes get caught up in each instance finding out what went wrong to cause that problem when there's an actual bigger issue. So for me, I use that a lot. And when I talk about the issue, not the instance, the Your No BS StoryBuilder comes into play because I'm using that story with the goal of trying to get others to see beyond themselves and that particular instance to what the bigger issue might be and how we would solve it. Well, that's what you're going to do. You're going to have a goal for your own anecdotes and analogies. And trust me, you're already using a lot of anecdotes and analogies. If you would text or email your team members right now, your direct reports, your main peers, and say, what are my go-to stories? What are the anecdotes and analogies that I tell again and again? They'll come back with 2, 3, 4, maybe more. So you already have these, and what we want to do is make sure you have a goal for when you're going to use them. And who's the target? Who is the target audience that you need to use this anecdote and analogy to leverage Your No BS StoryBuilder to tell that story and achieve that goal? So you have the goal, and then you define the target. Both relatively easy tasks to do. Just write them down. Then talk about the struggle and barriers that were overcome to achieve that goal, to make that anecdote make sense. When I talk about the issue, not the instance, I give personal struggles that I went through and my team went through, and how using this phrase, the issue, not the instance, helped us overcome that. So you want to talk about the barriers to overcome and the struggles to overcome. Who helped and how specifically? Why that? Because when we watch a new pilot of a show, we begin to see who the central figure is, but we quickly pick up on who the cast of characters are, and we see which ones we can relate to. That's what makes these great shows, whether it's Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, Mad Men, whether it is American Rust or The Morning Show or Ted Lasso. We see this cast of characters. That's the same thing we're doing here with who helped and how, because it shows it's not just about one person, it's about multiple people. And it humanizes the story. And that's why we also add the lessons learned. The lessons learned, because now we give concrete takeaways for our audience. The concrete takeaways today for you are the lessons that we've learned is that the behavioral science helps us to leverage the power of the story. And so we want to have the behavioral science drive the creative art, but we want to do it in a systematic way that makes it easy for you. And the way that we learned that lesson is to build Your No BS StoryBuilder. So once you're able to do that, you have the goal for that story, that anecdote, that analogy. You have the target audience, and that same story can be used for multiple target audiences. You then talk about the barriers that were overcome, the struggles you battled through, who helped and how, what were the lessons learned. And once you've done that, take and make your 6-word story. Just have fun with it. It all comes from the Ernest Hemingway 6-word story, which if you haven't heard this, Ernest Hemingway and some of the great writers of his time were all together, I'm imagining, over a drink or two, and they threw some money into the center of the table and said, who can write the strongest, shortest story? Clarity and brevity is what I always say. Hopefully someone there at that table said that. And Ernest Hemingway won with baby shoes never worn for sale. Clarity, brevity. Everyone that hears baby shoes never worn for sale begins to think, I wonder what happened. They're seeing the baby shoes. They're seeing the for sale and wondering what happened. Hemingway won. Well, your 6-word story is just taking that and turning it. Mine for that one that I gave you is it's the issue, not the instance, 5 words. have fun with it. So to recap, the power of story is why that leader, teacher, coach, college professor, some other leader made an impact on you that last today you heard them and saw them in your mind's eye when I said to go ahead and do that. They leverage the power of story because it goes across cultures, generations, everything to educate, communicate, and motivate. So use Your No BS StoryBuilder, which gives you the framework of setting a goal for that story, defining the target audience that's going to be reached and engaged with about that story, discuss the barriers overcome, the struggles you battled through, talk about who helped and how, just like each of those shows I mentioned has a cast of characters that are helping each other and getting through and achieving the goals. And then summarize the lessons learned, and then have some fun with making your 6-word story based on the Ernest Hemingway anecdote that I mentioned. Your No BS StoryBuilder will make a difference for you when you want to communicate, educate, and motivate those around you. Thanks for listening to another episode of the No Bullshit Marketing Show, recorded here in our studio in bold, beautiful downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.